Hello, buenos dias. Excellent. I'm here today to talk to you about immigration reform, something that I've been working on for a really long time, along with a lot of other people in this country. For nearly a decade, I worked as an immigration attorney, and I helped a lot of people. But for every one case that I could help, there were 9 others that I could do nothing about because of what I see as a broken system. I could not help a former client by the name of Valentina. She was a high school valedictorian, scheduled to give the graduation speech, but she was deported several weeks before she gave the speech because she didn't have the right papers to be here and she couldn't get them. I could not help Martin. This story is always troubling to me. At 5 a.m. in the morning, 5 years ago, immigration agents came to his door, pounded on that door, on a tip that his father was undocumented. Martin opened the door. The agents, guns drawn, barged in. They grabbed everyone out of their beds and asked for their papers. Now, Martin and his 3 younger siblings, they were U.S. citizens, born here. They had their papers. But his parents, who had come from Guatemala 20 years ago, who worked hard, paid taxes, and believed in the American dream, they didn't have papers and they couldn't get them. The immigration agents handcuffed the parents in front of the children. They took them that morning. The children, the youngest one was only 8 years old, were terrified. They didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. The agents put the parents on a plane to Guatemala. Today, the children can only talk to their parents through the phone. Martin, in order to keep his siblings out of the foster system, at the age of 18, Martin dropped out of high school so that he could be mother, father, and provider to his younger siblings. His own dream of going to college and becoming an engineer fell apart. It's stories like Valentina's and Martin's that made me stop practicing law and turned me into an advocate for trying to change the law. For me, reforming immigration, reforming our laws, is about what kind of country we want to be in, what kind of America we want this place to be. Immigration is the story of struggle. It's the story of promise and hope. It's the story of survival and renewal and redemption. And it's the story of my own family. Oh, there's me. I am the child of immigrants. I'm sort of an immigrant myself, but I'm in that 0.5 category. I was born in Mexico to a Mexican father and an American mother. My mom herself is the child of Scottish and English immigrants. And what's always struck me about the 2 sides of my family is that even though they're from different places, that the lessons that they've passed down to me are the same. Through stories told in different languages, over different food, by different people, the lessons they've passed down are the same. In English y Español, over clam chowder y caldo de pollo, my grandparents, Dorothy and Earl, y mis abuelos, Jesus y Regina, taught me to value family. They also taught me to live with dignity, vivir con dignidad. They taught me to treat others as I would want to be treated. Y trabajar duro para alcanzar nuestros sueños. Family unity, human dignity, hard work, fair treatment. Those are the lessons that they passed down to me. Those lessons were born in their human struggle, passed down through the generations, intensified by the immigrant journey. I like to think that those lessons, those values, are the same ones passed down to all of us, to all American families. You see, 99% of us are part of immigrant families. Only 1% of us identify in the census as purely Native American or American Indian. Interestingly, 1 in 10 of us is a new immigrant right now, or 13%. 1 in 10 of us. That's the lowest percentage of new immigrants we've ever had in this country. By way of comparison, 100 years ago, twice as many of us were immigrants. And 200 years ago, nearly all of us were immigrants. So we're a nation of immigrants that built this country. Not all of us came voluntarily. Some of us came involuntarily. But we are nonetheless, without a doubt, a nation of immigrants. It's important to note also that 1/3 of us are presently living the immigrant experience. 1/3 of us are new immigrants or children of new immigrants today who are living the immigrant experience right now. So even though we're a nation of immigrants, we've always had mixed feelings about them. We celebrate their hard work and their ingenuity, but we worry about how they might change our country. We let our policies be led by our fears. We enact laws like the Chinese Exclusion Act of the 1800s, or deportation programs like Operation Wetback in the 1900s, or more recently, immigrant registration programs requiring men of Middle Eastern descent to report to the government for questioning and possible detention, hearkening back to the days of Japanese internment. And our immigration laws refer to immigrants as aliens. That's the actual word we use in our law, aliens, as if they were from a different planet. And we talk about immigrants in the media as illegals, as if illegal was a noun. And we separate families and we dehumanize people caught in the enforcement web. But we can do better. We can break this cycle of mistreatment, and we can honor our shared values. And we can do it right now as part of immigration reform. You see, right now, Congress is trying to figure out how to fix our immigration laws. And one of the big things that they're grappling with is what to do about the 11 million undocumented people living in this country. That's 11 million who don't have the right papers to be here. Many of these folks have been here for a long time. Many of them grew up here. They're scientists, they're doctors, they're engineers, they're social workers, they're teachers, and so on. They have an American dream just like you and me, but that dream is overshadowed by the threat of deportation. They live, work, play, pray, and study alongside of us, but they live in fear of deportation because they have no line to stand in. You see, the immigration system today is not like that of the past. There is no Ellis Island where an aspiring immigrant can come, stand in line, pay 25 cents, state his or her name, get a medical exam, answer a few questions, and start a new life. Today's aspiring immigrants stand in a virtual line, not a physical one, and they have to fall into 3 categories. This line, this virtual line, is only for you if you are 1, an immediate family member of a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, or 2, you are a highly skilled professional that's hard to find and you're requested by a U.S. company, or 3, you are a political or humanitarian refugee and you're in danger in your own country. With a few minor exceptions, if you don't qualify as one of these categories, immediate family, highly skilled and hard to find professional, or refugee, then you don't have a line to stand in. So who gets left out? Who doesn't have a line to stand in? Well, it's people like Pulitzer Prize winning journalist Jose Antonio Vargas. You might have heard of him. Jose came to the United States from the Philippines when he was a young boy to live with his grandparents, his family hoping to give him a better life. But grandparents don't count as immediate family members, so he couldn't immigrate through them. He works hard, he writes amazing stories, he pays taxes, but he doesn't qualify for an employment-based visa allowing him to immigrate. And he's not a refugee, so he has no line to stand in. Well, let's say you're one of the lucky ones and you get to stand in that line. You still might have to wait a lifetime for your turn to immigrate. And that's because we have an outdated visa system that caps visas at 25,000 visas per year per country. So if you're from Luxembourg, anyone here from Luxembourg? No? Okay. Then you're in good shape because that's a low-sending country. They're probably never going to hit their 25,000 cap, and you'll probably be able to immigrate right quick. If you're from a high-sending country like Mexico, China, or India, you might have to wait a whole lot longer. You see, within the 25,000 cap, we give priority to the minor children, the spouses, and the parents of U.S. citizens. Well, that makes sense, but it leaves other family members out. So if we fill the 25,000 cap with these immigrants, then other family members are left to the side. And I'm going to give you an example of a friend of mine. I'm going to call her Maria for this story. Maria's mother was able to immigrate and become a citizen when she was young. And her mother petitioned her and her brother when they were teenagers. Because her mother was a citizen and she was then a minor child, she fell into this high priority category. While she was waiting her turn, though, she had a few birthdays, and she aged out of this category. Her brother was able to immigrate. He was the younger brother, still a teenager, but she was not. She was an adult in the eyes of our immigration system, and she has now been waiting close to 25 years. She's 40 years old. She's my age. She spent her entire adult life waiting for her turn to be with her brother and to be with her mother. Let's talk about employment visas for a second, because that's the other way that we talked about being able to immigrate to this country. Well, those are also capped, but the main problem with employment visas is that they're not responsive. They're fixed arbitrarily. They were arbitrarily fixed years ago, and they don't respond to a changing or expanding economy. So what that means is that companies like Microsoft, if they can't get the workers they need here, and they're not able to petition for them, request them, because of arbitrary caps, then they have to consider relocating, which is exactly what Microsoft did 5 years ago. When it went to Canada, it moved part of its operation to Canada so that it could draw the best and brightest from around the world to be software developers, innovators, creators, engines of an economy. The other problem with employment visas is that most of them are set aside for these highly skilled professionals or multinational executives. Very few are set aside for other essential workers. Workers in the agricultural industry, home care industry, hospitality industry, and others. As an example, of the estimated 2 million farm workers in this country who don't have documents, there are only about 50,000 visas available for them. If they were to leave, we would have no food on our table. So what's the solution? Here's the crux of our problem. We have 11 million people here who have come without authorization, or they have overstayed a visitor visa or a student visa in order to be with their family or to fill a labor need, because they don't see options. They don't see a line for them to stand in, or the line that they're standing in is too long. Interesting to note, 40% of the undocumented population here is having overstayed a visa. So 40% who didn't sneak across the border, They came with a visa and they overstayed, and they came from Europe, they came from Asia, Africa, and the Americas. 11 million people. That's nearly twice the size of Tennessee's population. The question is, what are we going to do about that population? How are we going to treat them? And how would we want to be treated if we were in their shoes? Some people think we should deport them all. We should take an enforcement-only approach. If we just keep deporting them, it'll become so unpleasant that everyone will go and no one else will come. Well, that solution, it doesn't feel right to me. I am haunted by the story of Martin, the young man, the teenager whose parents were ripped from his home in the early morning 5 years ago. I am troubled that the children 5 years later have trouble talking about what happened to them without crying. They are traumatized. It was dehumanizing. It was not the kind of treatment that I would have wanted to receive. What happened to Martin and his family happens every single day. In fact, it happens approximately 1,000 times a day, leaving trails of tears in cities across America. So is this the solution that we want? We, as Americans, is this how we want to treat other people? An enforcement-only approach has led to a buildup of Border Patrol. My favorite people. Border Patrol has ballooned to become the largest law enforcement agency in the country. They are larger than the FBI, DEA, ATF, Secret Service, U.S. Marshals combined. These agents, 20,000 of them, are deployed at the southern border. There are others throughout the country, but 20,000 of them are concentrated at the southern border. That's 10 agents for every mile. 10 agents for every mile. That's one agent about every 2 football fields. They could be in sight of each other. The reason why they are there and we have so many is because we are developing policies driven by fears. Fears about the border, especially. What have you heard about the border? I'm guessing here in Tennessee, you might have heard that it's full of drugs, violence, terrorists, and other bad things. I'm from the border. My family sitting over there is from the border, and we would not describe it as such a place. To us, it's a safe, vibrant, dynamic place. But you don't know me. You don't have to take my word for it. According to the FBI, San Diego and El Paso and other border cities are among the safest in the country. And according to Customs and Border Protection, 99.95% of border traffic is legitimate. And no known terrorist has ever crossed our southern border. One more thing. Migration flows are at an all-time low. In fact, there are more Mexicans leaving the United States than coming in because of a booming Mexican economy. And yet, policymakers are calling for even more agents at the border. Even more, because it makes them sound tough. But here's what you should know about those Border Patrol agents. They don't stay on the border. There's too many of them. They roam our neighborhoods, they set up checkpoints, and they board our planes and our trains, our trolleys and our buses, and they ask for our papers inside the United States, away from the border. This happened to me only a few months ago. I was on a train to Los Angeles when a Border Patrol agent dressed in a baseball jersey with a badge hanging around his neck jumped in front of me and demanded my papers. Imagine if you were on a train from Chicago to St. Louis, or you were driving from Nashville to Knoxville, and you were stopped and asked for your papers. Would you be ready? Who here carries their U.S. passport or birth certificate? I wasn't ready. I was 100 miles away from the border. I told the agent I was a citizen. And the agent looked at me and moved on. I'm not sure I would have been so lucky or that it would have gone so well if I had darker skin or an accent. In fact, it didn't go well for someone else I know, Monique Pachiquin, who was killed in my community in San Diego, a U.S. citizen and mother of 5. She was coming out of her friend's apartment when an agent approached her, plainclothed agent with a badge, and she, alone and frightened as I was, got in her car and tried to drive away. The agent shot her through the windshield 9 times. 9 times, shot her dead. U.S. citizen, mother of 5 in a residential neighborhood. She's one of 20 victims of Border Patrol just in the last 2 years. Those are the ones who have died. There are many more who have been injured. We're trying to do something about that. We're trying to get justice for that family, and we're trying to bring accountability to Border Patrol, but we haven't succeeded yet. In the 100-year history of Border Patrol, no agent has ever been brought to justice for anything they've ever done in our communities. Before I move on, I want to point out that these are Monique's children. This was taken a few weeks ago. Monique's children with the children and wives and brothers and husbands and parents of the other families who have lost loved ones at the hands of Border Patrol. They're calling for something better. They know that we can do better. What would a better system look like? It could be a lot of things, but I have some ideas, and these are some of them. Create pathways to citizenship for the 11 million, like Jose Antonio Vargas. Expand family visas to end the long waits so my friend Maria could be with her family. Create a market-driven worker system, visa system, so people like Microsoft can get the workers they need. Ensure that enforcement policies are humane so that Martin's family is not humiliated and denigrated. And then keep agents at the border and hold them accountable. Above all else, we need to lead with our values. Whatever the solutions are that we come up with, and we may disagree on what they are, the lesson of today is that we should lead with our values. Family unity, human dignity, hard work, and fair treatment. These are the values that we learned from our parents and grandparents. These are the lessons that we can pass on to our children. What will we change for our children? What will our lesson be? I hope it is that we can do better. Thank you very much.